Grimsby Town advancing 12-11 in a penalty shootout that seemed like it would never stop. In terms of recent EFL Cup eliminations against lower league opponents, this is what we are looking at. And this is the first EFL Cup elimination versus a fourth-tier club for Manchester United. This Manchester United's recent history in this tournament. OK, Craig, is this a new low for Manchester United?
Well, in case anybody asks, I was scheduled to be in today. I didn't get in the car, fly in, breaking
I have my doubts, I'm not going to lie.
I wasn't breaking all the records to get in during the penalty shootout. I was on the schedule to come in, expecting a Man United win, obviously, because they're playing Grimsby, League Two, bottom tier of the pyramid in professional football. Once you drop out of League Two, you're into what we call non-league, right? And then it can spiral down from there. Embarrassing isn't strong enough, is it? It's not. I can't swear on TV, but embarrassing isn't strong enough. Just awful. Absolutely awful. Ruben Amorim, do you remember after the Arsenal game? He said, we've shown today we can beat anybody. Well, they lost to Arsenal on that day. They lost to Fulham. Did they lose to Fulham?
They drew.
They drew at Fulham. And they lost to Grimsby. Grimsby Town. He's on his... I tell you what, do you remember Steve McLaren with the brolly up at Wembley? The wally with the brolly. Man United, all right, a few changes, I get it, but a few stars. And by the way, half-time, Ugarte off. Who was it, you that said, or somebody else? What the hell does he do? And they chased him for 60 million, off at half-time. They brought Fernandez on, and I can't remember who else.
And Burmo and De Ligt.
Yeah, they brought all the big hitters on. They should have been 3-0 down before they equalised, because Grimsby were creating chances. There was a downpour during the game, which really, I think, helped the Grimsby players, to be honest, because they were up for the fight. But during the second half, we have this Man United manager on a tactics board, one of these little things with his coaches, right, looking like a right plonker, right, going like that, move, you know. You're playing Grimsby Town. And you're on a tactic. You need to go on a tactics board to figure out where the space is and how to beat them. I mean, the whole thing is just, it's utterly embarrassing. Even if you're a Man United fan, you must be sitting there thinking, this is a shambles. An absolute shambles from back to front, and the goalkeeper and the manager, what he says. I mean, honestly, I can't tell you. By the way, sorry. Well done, Grimsby. I've got to say that. Well done, Grimsby. What a day for these boys, this manager, this club, this little fishing town in England, which is not the prettiest. Nobody really wants to go there, let's be honest about it. They've just knocked out Manchester United in the Carabao Cup, right? Knocked them out, and at times outplayed them and created some really good chances. So this is I don't know what the worst result in Man United's history is. I don't know. I'm not a very historical person. But this has to be arguably it, or certainly up there. That's how bad this is. Can you imagine getting back in that Man United bus and going back to Manchester? Oh, what a shame. What a shame.
Listen, there's a lot to take away from this. Well, one, I'll double down on what Craig said. Well done, Grimsby. I thought credit to them for the game they played, the way they held their nerve late on, the way they held their nerve through the penalty shootout. It was unbecoming of a League Two side against a Premier League side. Credit to them for that. But from a Manchester United perspective, what you saw in the first half, I thought highlighted how poor a squad this is. Because while Amorim may have been able to offer as a defence, well, I made changes. The front three started with Amad Diallo, who's Manchester United's best player last season, Cunha and Sesko, who they spent an awful lot of money for in the summer transfer window. The back three, albeit Fredrickson and Heaven as two of the back three, and of course Onana in goal, yes, to make changes. But still, I feel that offers a little, or could have offered a little excuse, a little bit of cover. The midfield is without Bruno Fernandes is much of a muchness in that it could have changed. Yes, Mount has started the season so well, but this quite easily could be Manchester United's starting midfield for Bruno Fernandes apart. Then you make the changes at halftime, and you get yourself back in the game, albeit again late to Harry Maguire header. But that changes the conversation around Manchester United and this performance. And had they gone on and won this, the conversation is then, well, it shows how small our squad is, that really some of those fringe players are not good enough. But you cannot, again, just allow the game to get away from you in the way that it did. Grimsby had one rightly disallowed, had another that they absolutely should have scored. Was that to make it 3-0?
Yes.
Absolutely should have scored. And then you kind of flail a little bit, but then, as ever, get Harry Maguire up the other end, and albeit from a set piece, gets an equaliser. So there's a huge opportunity missed. And we were saying on the weekend how much of a difference a week makes in football. You go from a very good performance in a losing game against Arsenal to now you should have lost against Fulham, as Craig was talking. We discussed that on the weekend. You got away with one there. You can make the argument that you got away with well, Grimsby were fortunate with the second goal. I thought it was handball in the build-up to it. But no VAR, it stands. So maybe you want to say, well, Grimsby were a little bit lucky. But it's Grimsby.
Man United shouldn't be having...
It's Grimsby.
Yeah, they shouldn't have to worry about there's no VAR or sort of handball. They're playing Grimsby Town, for God's sake. This is such a gulf, even between a very bad Man United side. There's such a gulf between these boys, between these players in terms of the talent level. You want a positive for United? Brian Mboma got his first goal. Take that. But let this sink in. Shaka just mentioned the chance that they missed, it would have made 3-0. And then, and I know this is hypothetical, say that the officials had deemed that Harry Maguire had sufficient control, which he hadn't. Let it sink in that Manchester United could easily have been 4-0 down against Grimsby Town before Brian Mbemo gets his first Manchester United goal from open play anyway, before he scored a penalty, then missed a penalty. They could have been 4-0 down. I mean, seriously, against a team of boys that just wanted to run and fight and had a bit of pace, and it was the biggest evening of their career. They might not get an evening like that again, some of these lads at Grimsby Town. It comes and goes sometimes, and you spend a career in the lower leagues, and the Carabao Cup comes out or the FA Cup comes out, and you're playing another lower league side. You're not playing a Manchester United or a Liverpool, so some of them might not get another opportunity, and they wanted to roll their sleeves up and go out, and they wanted to take it, and they did. What did Man United do? They did what they've been doing now for 18 months, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. They were absolutely awful. And a manager who, once again, plays 3 centre-backs. Grimsby Town, 3 centre-backs. Won't change his style. What the hell the tactics board saying? I've got no idea. Because if you need that during a game to beat Grimsby Town, you shouldn't be in that job. You're screwed. So
Craig has had glowing praise for Grimsby Town, not so much where they play in Grimsby.
Oh, tell you what, the fish and chip shops in Grimsby tonight.
We'd have glowing praise for those fish and chip shops too. Let's see how the Wi-Fi connection is, because Mark Ogden was at Blundell Park tonight.
Not great.
Your reaction to what we saw tonight?
It was just absolutely crazy. I mean, the penalty shootout was bad enough. I mean, I'm stood there with a couple of the ex-United pundits, and they're saying, why is it Benjamin Sesko taking the penalty? The striker, he took like that the 11th or 12th. But look, from the beginning, it was obvious that Grimsby wanted it more. The guys are right that Amorim's tactics, very strange. Again, it just doesn't change. And, when you can't even control midfield against a team from League Two, Ugarte and Mainu just couldn't get on the ball. It was embarrassing to watch at times, the fact that Man United were being outplayed and overrun by a team from League Two. Grimsby fully deserved their lead. United were very fortunate to get back into the game, but I thought when they were back in the game at 2-2, they had to win it. And obviously, Sesko missed a great chance last kick of the game. But, I mean, listen, everyone's going to ask what's going to happen to Ruben Amorim right now. From what I'm hearing, there's absolutely no doubt from the United ownership, the board, that he's their guy. But I think this game tonight could be the beginning of it all unravelling, because you lose to Grimsby, you don't come back from that unless you start winning quickly. And I don't see how this team wins quickly. So I think this could be the start of the slippery slope. Saying that, they've had a pretty slippery slope under Amorim so far. But I think this is when a lot of the fans will lose patience. There's been a lot of issues before the game about United being ready to let Kobbie Mainoo go. A lot of fans have kind of lost it with Amorim over that, because they think that Amorim hasn't earned the right, shall we say, to dictate that the homegrown players can leave. So I get the sense of a little bit of a little bit of support going away from Amorim. And what happens tonight won't help at all because it's Grimsby Town. It's League Two. They've never lost to a League Two team competition before. So tonight is a new low. And I don't know how Amorim retrieves it because his system isn't working. His players aren't good enough. And there's only 4 or 5 days of the window left to get deals done. And they're not going to get enough deals done.
On that point as well, Mark, given that your connection is okay right now, Craig...
I'm enjoying the background.
Wonderful. He's in a broom cupboard, I think. Craig did ask during the show already where that ranks in terms of upsets for Manchester United in cup competition. Does anything stand out to you, Mark?
I was at Milton Keynes 11 years ago when Louis van Gaal's team lost to MK Dons 4-0. Well, that was a fringe team. A lot of those players, if you look at the team that night, never played for United again. And I think MK Dons were third division rather than fourth division. I can't think of anything comparable to this. I think York City beat United in the 90s, but again, they weren't bottom tier. So to lose to what is almost a fourth division team, it's as bad as it gets for United. I mean, it really is. I mean, there's been a few difficult times in Europe in recent seasons. The Premier League performances haven't really lived up to standards, but to lose to a fourth division team, yes, it's League Two, but it's a fourth division team. That is a humiliating for Man United, and it really is. And he's got a lot of answering to do now to the owners, to the fans, and he has to explain why his system is completely unsuited to English football, but he sticks with it. He never changes. So we have to ask him, why do you stick with the system? What is it with the goalkeeper? Because now the goalkeeper can catch a ball at a corner. And he doesn't have the answers.
Journalist dream, isn't it, Augie? A journalist dream.
Oh.
There's like loads to write about here. Everybody will be piling on, and rightly so.
Yeah.
So even if they came back and won this game, which it looked like they were going to do at the end, it would still have been negative. It would still it would still have been negative because, as we were just saying, I don't know if you heard or not, but it could easily have been 3 or 4-0 to Grimsby before Brian Mbeumo scored, and so. When you've got players like Mainu, who I know is a big story, you mentioned it, but how Agate? Augie, talk to me about him.
Well, Agate, listen, he can't run and he can't pass. Now, Casemiro can't run and Mainu can't run either, but Agate can't do either. Now, and the problem is, this is the midfield. By playing, it's basically a 2 midfield, isn't it? You've got Bruno Fernandes dropping into that 2, so it takes away his best qualities, and he has to play with Casemiro, who can't run. But the other options are Agate and Mainu. They have no legs in midfield, and they're talking about letting Mainu go because he's unhappy at his lack of opportunities. I'm not sure about Mainu. I'm not sure he doesn't fit this system, and I'm not sure he's athletic enough to be a top Premier League player. But he's better than Ugarte. But if your options are Ugarte, Casemiro, and probably Mainu, then opposition will know that you've got no legs in midfield. And Grimsby Town from League Two knew that as well tonight. I mean, I don't know if you can hear the fans at the moment. They're chanting, "You're getting sacked in the morning" to Ruben Amorim, who's back on the pitch. So, I mean, he won't forget his night to Grimsby, will he? He'll never forget coming here, I don't think.
Mark, I'm sure that your arm's aching now, but we've got another question for you. Given that you did
got one of those long, what do you call it?
Maybe one of the selfie sticks.
Selfie stick.
I hope for his
No, I've just
sake.
got a long arm.
You got one long arm, but you got one longer than the other, Augie. Is that what it is?
Surely you
like
never expected this to be a loss for United tonight, though.
I didn't expect it, but I knew it might happen, which is why I came, because I just knew that Man United had got potential to lose anywhere. I didn't think they would, but I mean, I've been to Grimsby before. I was there about 20 years ago when they beat Tottenham. So strange things can happen in these competitions, but I didn't think United were that bad. But in fairness to Grimsby played really well. They didn't lose to a bad team tonight. They lost to a fourth division team, which you shouldn't have done. But Man United just still have enough in their locker to win. But Craig's right. It's a big story. We've got a lot of writing to do. I'm not sure I'm going to get home from Grimsby tonight, but that's the price of the ticket, isn't it? Sometimes.
I was at that game, Augie. Grimsby Tottenham, working for BBC 5 Live. We've got to all the big games, you and I.
Yeah. Last minute winner, yeah. But last minute winner in a press box when I couldn't see the pitch. But this is what football's all about, coming to Grimsby on a Wednesday night and watching a Premier League team.
I'm not sure about that.
Let's hope we can get home from there, Mark. We're going to let you go. We're going to let you give your arm a rest as well. And obviously, you've got a lot of copy to file right now.
If you could have done that, Augie, from a burger van, that would have been absolutely fantastic.
Or a fish and chip
Fish
van.
and chip shop.
I've got the panic sign behind me. There you go.
Press it. Obviously, I want to
all right, Augie, have a good one. I tell you what, if I hear there's a word that could actually make my head explode, right? And that won't be pretty. Yeah. System. System. No, system. The players don't fit the system. The system. It isn't working in England.
We've gone from 10 days ago, this Manchester United side against Arsenal showing that they could beat anybody in the league, to tonight, Augie saying this Manchester United side could lose anywhere in 10 days. What a turnaround.
Yeah, brilliant stuff.
I've actually moved house closer to the ESPN to come in for moments like this.
Craig made it in time. However, you did give praise, guys, to Grimsby Town for quite the achievement here, going toe-to-toe, and as Craig mentioned, and oftentimes overshining Manchester United.
Without question. And so often when we talk about lower league against higher league opponents, these games are decided, or results are snatched away in the closing moments. Just because of that, you don't have the same level of fitness. You're not used to playing at that pace. And you wondered if that was going to be the case for Grimsby Town. But they gave themselves enough of a buffer in that 2-goal lead, which, as we mentioned, could have been so much more. And then in the end, it took that last-minute Harry Maguire goal to force it to penalties. And again, they aren't used to these circumstances. They're the more tired of the two, both physically and mentally. They're not used to penalty shootouts against this quality of an opponent. Yet still, they were able to go toe-to-toe, albeit thanks to the fifth penalty miss from Cunha, and then it goes all the way to Bueno, which was, 12th or 13th at that point. And credit to them, because they missed one penalty in that 12 or 13. And I thought, again, you see the fans' reaction, justified, you know how much it means, and it was absolutely deserved.
I've been in, and Shaka will have as well, I'm sure, but as a goalkeeper, it's maybe slightly different. But I've been in that scenario as a Chelsea player and as a Celtic player in Scotland. You're the big club, and you go to some of these lower league grounds, and you're kind of like a little blasé about it, and then you come out and the game starts, and before you know it, your goalie's having to make 2 or 3 saves because they've come out like a house on fire. It's the big moment, and you as a player go, "Whoa, right, hold on, hold on, we need to switch on here," right? Because that attitude gives them a chance, and you just feel that maybe there was, again, even though with the changes, there was a bit of swagger about United tonight. We're Man United. We're you know, we're spending all this money. We're just going to pitch up and beat Grimsby Town. And sometimes that can be your undoing. I've had those moments where I think, my God, these guys are actually better than what I thought. They're not good enough in the end if you put your foot on the gas. But they're sometimes better than what you think. And if you're just a little bit off, you give them a chance, they take it. That's what Grimsby Town did. They took their big opportunity, albeit it was via penalties at the end. But again, it's moments like this for players that are probably, and I keep saying this, you know, most players that play the game don't get to play at the level that we were able to play at. Unfortunately, most, you know, guys are playing down the lower leagues or the Championship or below, and they never make that jump. You see how tough it is for teams to come from the Championship at times into the Premier League and then get suckered straight back down. It's the same for players. It's a big, big step to move up the divisions. And so for these boys, they don't have, most of them, and I'm not being disrespectful, they don't have the talent level. They're probably never going to see those big movies in the Premier League. And so you get your one opportunity as a player, and you either fold because you're too nervous, or you take it. And we saw those scenes at the end with the fans on the ground, albeit Man United are pretty much dross these days, even spending all that money. Doesn't matter to these guys. They've beaten Manchester United, the club, and that's been their big moment.
But that's the arrogance about Manchester United here, because to your point, yes, you fold. If you will fold if the opponent, and in this case Manchester United, gives you a reason to fold. If they give you a reason to believe in yourself, you take it. And Manchester United, just to come out in the way that they did, and give Grimsby every reason to believe that they could get a result here, is on them. And I can't help that. It just smacks of arrogance, because these players have to know better than going to lower league opponents and feel that all you need to do is turn up. All you need to do is put on your shirt, and the result is determined. And some of that arrogance, Craig pointed it out, came out during the penalty shootout with Maguire and Bruno Fernandes.
You know, we're probably not going to hear from Ruben Amorim during this show. We may not. I would imagine not. I wonder if he's thrown anybody under the bus after today's game. I wonder if he's taken responsibility. But when you play these strong-arm tactics that he has with quite a lot of players, he says, I'm the man, you're out, you're out, you're out, I'm making these changes, I'm doing this. That's all very well. But you've got to get results. Because if you're a Man United fan, can you trust... You can't trust this team, right? You just can't at the moment. I don't know when we will. Can you trust the manager to make the right decisions? There's no evidence since he's been at the club that you can trust him to make the right decisions. Yeah, like, you know, Garnacho may have an attitude, Rashford may have an attitude, whoever. I don't know. But he's making those decisions whilst not getting results. That's not a good fit. That is not a good fit. Because the board start looking at the manager. Say, look, how he's you know, if you're a board member, if you're Jason Wilcox who played the game, you're Omar Barada was at Man City, and there are others. You're sitting there at recruitment level before you even get to the financial gurus, and you say, this guy's totally inflexible. Totally. I said on the show the other day, I think it was Sunday, I believe it was, or whatever day. I've never known a top flight manager, ever known a top flight manager that won't swallow his pride and make changes.
Yeah.
None. Now, there might not have been wholesale changes, but there were changes. He never came out. Sir Alex Ferguson, Arsene Wenger, Jose Mourinho, Carlo Ancelotti, Antonio Conte. Go through the list. I don't give a damn. Go through the lot. Not one of them has ever come out and said, that's the way we're playing, end of story. That's it. That is it. Nuts and bolts. That is it. Not one of them. The greatest managers that have ever managed the game, not one of them. That's basically what this guy is saying. This is it. This is it. And I'm not changing. And I've said all along, when you don't make changes, if you're scouting Man United, right, on a weekly basis in the Premier League, you know, whatever team's playing Man United next week, it's the easiest scouting report and tactical analysis leading up that you're ever going to get. Because they've got three at the back, they've got two wing-backs, got two in midfield, they've got two narrow in behind the striker. There's no surprise element. There's no flexibility. And that makes it easier, not for Grimsby Town, but that makes it easier for the bigger teams to go, tell you what, that's where we'll try and pinpoint. That's where because they're going to leave space there, they'll leave space there, they'll look for the diagonals. Shaka, it's just totally inflexible, and I cannot get my head around it.
And the thing is, I'm not sure how it gets an awful lot better. Yes, they're linked with a young goalkeeper to come in, but I'm not sure. That's
obviously the goalkeeper, Onana, tonight, instead of Altay.
Two big mistakes from Onana tonight. And I've sat here and made the argument that I'd have Onana over Altay. On this performance, I'm not so sure.
You might as well leave the both of them in Grimsby.
It was. Listen,
buy them a house.
It was two really basic mistakes from Andrew Onana, who I've supported in the past year. But you're bringing in a young goalkeeper named since now 23 years old, in behind a back you expect.
Is this the Belgian boy?
Belgian, yeah.
Who, by the way, did you hear the other day? They said he's not very good at crosses.
With this back three, coming into a back three that don't quite understand the system, and was exposed again today. Now, if Onana, with his experience, playing in Italy, playing in the Eredivisie, can't figure out this back three, I'm not sure how a kid coming in does. All that being said, the other thing that I'm kind of looking at, and you know, Oggy touched on it, is about questions about Amorim and his future. Now, I'm with Oggy in that I don't see Manchester United, their board, making any major decisions around him anytime soon.
No.
But Manchester United next have Burnley at home.
And then?
Then they go into the international break. Then they're away to Manchester City and at home to Chelsea. Now, Manchester United come out of the... Well, they have to beat Burnley. Yeah. Have to. Otherwise, what happens from there and in is almost irrelevant at this point. If you cannot beat Burnley at home, then we have to have a whole new conversation. But then you have transfer window closes, and you have Manchester City away, Chelsea at home. You're on the wrong side of two hidings in those. And again, the conversation is totally different. So while I'm with Oggy fully here, I think the next 3 games, albeit over what will it be, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, given the international window, determines the rest of this season, determines whether we hear from Amorim that this is the worst Manchester United team that he's seen again. It changes so much of the perception and the conversation around him and this team.
Who said that?
Last year,
The worst one.
last year, Amorim said at some point, I think this could be
Yeah.
the worst Manchester United team I've seen.
Well, that was a
Something
quick
like that.
change because he went from there to we can beat anybody.
That's right. It was around
Grimsby.
Christmas time, the New Year. I can't remember exactly when it was, but Amorim said that about his own team.
Yeah, I
Do you
remember.
mind if I go now? I mean, it was only a cameo role.
Yeah, that's all you come in for.
No.